Welcome, everybody, to Help Me Pivot, where we turn fear into confidence that creates cash. And I can't believe it. We are in our last week of our series, and I have a special guest here today. Her name is Adelina Tacioco. Tacioco. So, good. So, we seem to have some fun speakers with Italian names in this series. So I seem to be attracting some Italians here. So, which is kind of interesting because I love Italy. So Adelina, I'm going to have her introduce herself, but what I know about her. She is a therapist, she is a coach, she's a speaker, and most of all, she is a healer. And the world needs healing right now. Everybody needs healing right now. So much uncertainty, so much stress, so much fear. So welcome, Adelina. I'm so excited to have you in this series. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your healing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gabrielle, and thank you for that introduction. It's funny, my last name is actually Filipino, but I do get that people are like, oh, it sounds Italian. But so, I'm trained in mental health as a social worker, mental health practitioner, restorative justice practitioner. And so I use that to really inform my practice, but I no longer practice therapy. I moved much more into coaching and healing. So I'm also a certified coach and consultant. And then I have an intuitive gift that's been passed down in my family that I also utilize. And so I tell people that, and it's kind of like a mouthful, but I tell folks that because really there's so many different tools to utilize. And I'm just so grateful to have the different options on how to meet people where they're at. And so my process is, I really specialize in serving women of color in being able to move past the imposter syndrome that is so embedded in so many of our psyches. So be able to move past the imposter syndrome and really utilize their gifts to create the lives that they absolutely love.
Tell me again, refresh my memory. I just read again about the imposter syndrome. So explain again what that actually means. What is the imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so the imposter syndrome is like when you're experiencing growth, you're being acknowledged, you're being celebrated, and you feel like it's not really you. You feel like you're a fake, right? You feel like, oh, if only they knew that I'm really not that amazing. If only they knew that I'm not somebody to be celebrated, right? Or say you get a job and you get a brand new job and it's, an upgrade from your last job and you're super excited. And again, you just feel like, oh man, but I'm faking it. I'm faking it till I make it all the way, right? So that gets really embedded in so many of our psyches. Research has shown that a lot of people, all types of people experience that. But then it's compounded by different identities, right? So as a woman, we experience that way more than men do, right? And then as a woman of color, we experience that even more. And that's just as a result of oppression. And so there's just this idea that can't possibly be us, right? It can't possibly be true that we are deserving of this.
So that sounds also a little bit like a worthiness, a self-worth issue.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that explanation. So how do you think people can pivot right now? How can they deal with that change, right? So it's very obvious that our world is changing. It will never look the same. Mm-hmm. So give us some thoughts or something that you would tell your clients how to deal with all this change, how to deal with the uncertainty, the fears, all the emotions that are coming up right now.
Yeah, great question. Well, something that comes to mind when you ask that is actually something I was supported when I was pregnant. It was my first time being pregnant and I was pretty nervous. I've never had a baby before. Who knows? Even though women have been doing this for generations, obviously, I'm scared, right? And something that one of the instructors told me I had taken this class. I've taken several classes. I'm like really big on being prepared. And so I'd taken this class and the instructor said, how you deal with pain is how you're going to deal with pain, right? So how you deal with like pain in your normal everyday discomfort, that's how you're going to deal with labor and delivery. And that really struck me. And I think that that's, definitely something that's relatable right now is how you deal with change, how you deal with discomfort, how you deal with the unknown is triggered more and more right now, right? So then your question is, okay, well, what do you do? The first thing that you want to know is how do you deal with it?
Yes.
Right? How do you usually deal with change? Do you invite change in, right? What are your triggers? What things freak you out? And then what happens? And so I teach people this process around paradigms. So we have an internal system, and it's a survival mechanism, right? And something I want to also point out that I just love, because I think sometimes we think about this time and we get scared, right? But when we really think about who we come from, that we come from a lineage of ancestors that survived so much. All of us are here because our ancestors survived, right? We may not have gone through a global pandemic, but our ancestors went through, pandemics, plagues, wars, right? Colonization. They went through all that. So all that strength is inside of us. Okay. So you want to first just take that in, breathe that in, know that you are powerful, right? And as a part of that system though, because we come from an ancestry of survival, we have within us really strong survival mechanisms that are helpful when we're trying to survive, but not so helpful when we're trying to thrive. Okay. So imagine that you have like an internal thermostat and your thermostat set to 70 degrees. And hot is good and cold is bad, right? So if if you're at 70 degrees and you lose a loved one, you get a diagnosis, right? Which is very, very real right now, right? Losing people, getting diagnosis, losing a job, right? All of those things. Then your paradigms are helpful because they're set at 70 degrees. This is your baseline. This is what you've known. So then they will help you get back on your feet, okay? However, if you're at 70 degrees and you're trying to let this be, you've talked about this being, I've been watching the interviews too, right? And I'm so moved by all of the tips. And the idea is that you want to utilize this time as a breakthrough, not just to get back on your feet, right? So if you're at 70 degrees and you're wanting to write that book you've always wanted to write, you're wanting to start that business, you're wanting to, find the love of your life, whatever it is that makes you feel expansive, right? You're at 80 degrees. But if you're at 80 degrees and your thermostat set to 70 degrees, what turns on? No, it's a real question, Gabrielle. What turns on? if your thermostat set to 70 degrees, but the temperature raises to 80 degrees.
So it's kind of like an emergency kind of thinking, right?
Right. Well, the emergency thinking is here, right? And it will get you back up because the heater will turn on, right? But if you're at 70 degrees, then the AC turns on. Sorry, I don't mean a trick question here. I was just like, yeah,
the AC.
Yeah, the AC. The AC will turn on to bring you back down.
Of course. Got it.
Right? Because it knows that at 70 degrees, you did not die. Right? And all your paradigms are there for, right? That lineage of these powerful, strong ancestors are there to keep you alive. And thank God that they're there to keep you alive. But if you're wanting to thrive, you don't want them to dim, right? To bring you back down. So how does it bring you back down? There's 4 main ways. And this is something to think about as we're pivoting, right?
Yes.
There's 4 main ways that our paradigms bring us back down to the 70 degrees. The first way is through delay, right? I will do that after I have this much money, after I have this much time, after the pandemic, right? I'll do it after the pandemic. Wait, we don't know how long this pandemic's going to be. This is a time where we really need to use our gifts, right?
Yes.
Not wait. The second is through distraction, right? I will do it. You'll be working on something, you're thinking about writing that book, you're thinking about applying to the new job, and then all of a sudden you're binge watching Netflix, or you're scrolling on Facebook,
Yes.
you're distracted. You're distracted. And then the third way is through dissuasion, which is that negative self-talk. You can't do this. Who do you think you are? Is this, hello, does it make sense? We're in a pandemic right now. Hello, and then the fourth is through disaster, right? And that's a physiological response where you have an anxiety attack, you get numb, you get tired, you start crying, or you even get a cold, right? Something that physiologically happens that brings you back to the 70 degrees.
That is true. I heard that a lot of times we might get sick, which is stopping us, right? So,
Yes.
so our body has like certain ways, our ego. And you made me think of this book I read called The Upper Limit. So we give ourselves this upper limit.
Yes,
So,
The Big Leap. Gay Hendricks talks about the upper limit. Mm-hmm.
The big leap, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he coins the upper limit syndrome, which is that when you experience too much good, and that's exactly what it is. You're moving into the 80 degrees. You experience too much good, you trigger an alarm. And then all these paradigms show up.
Wow.
And so right now, more than ever, we want to be conscious of those triggers. We want to be conscious of, oh, I'm in delay right now. Oh, I'm in distraction right now. Oh, I'm having dissuasion right now. Oh, I'm having a physiological response. And then what you want to do is notice, what was I doing right when that got triggered? Because whatever it was, that's what I was making me feel so bright. That triggered an alarm. So I want to go back and do the thing that was making me feel bright. Because we don't have time. And I don't mean to sound super intense, but really, This is not the time to be in delay. This is not the time to be like, oh, I got to wait. Oh, let me get distracted. This is the time that we each have, because we each have a role to play, right? We each have a role to play in this global pandemic. We each have a role to play in this revolution, right? There's so many things happening right now. And we each have a role to shift things for the better, for all of us. It's no coincidence that we're in a global pandemic and we're also in a revolution emphasizing that Black Lives Matter. That's not a coincidence. It's because we're needing to move things into a new energy field. And
time is now, right? Time is now.
Time is now. And so listening, being able to let this, again, you're at 70 degrees, you say you lose your job, let that fuel you past the 70 degrees, not just to get back on the horse, but to go beyond that, right? To go beyond that. And the way that research shows that you could really do that, one is through a huge emotional impact. So this pandemic is a great example, a huge emotional impact that will smack you out of the way you've been operating, right? And then the second way is through, intentional support, where you have a vision, a mentor, and a structure to consistently support you past this thinking that keeps pulling you back down. Yeah, I know that was a mouthful.
Oh, no, that's amazing, because you pointed out, everything that's basically keeping us right now safe, right? Mm-hmm. So you pointed out, because the ego is trying to keep us safe. And, we don't really, as in the book that we just mentioned, The Big Leap, we set ourselves this internal thermometer, right? So where we don't want to necessarily step out of our comfort zone. But you are so right. Right now is the time. So this is an important message. Right now is the time to step out of your comfort zone. Take a look, right? And we had a lot of speakers in this series, and a lot of them were speaking about their passion, right? Right now is the time to figure out, what our gifts are. What are our gifts? Mm-hmm. So what's the next step? I'm going on a tangent now.
No, I love what you're saying, though. But you're right. Now is the time. And it's interesting because you say now is the time to step out of your comfort zone. Here's the deal. We're all out of our comfort zone.
Right.
We're all out of our comfort zone. Whether that's from having lost a loved one, right? Having fallen ill ourselves, having lost a job, being sheltered in place. We're out of our comfort zone. So might as well utilize this time as an opportunity to grow, right? An opportunity to grow. We're all going to experience a dark night in our lifetime, right? And for some
And
of
that
us,
was one of the things I heard you say. I looked at your website and, there's certain things that resonated with me. And you said each day is an opportunity for a new start.
yes,
I love
day is an
that.
opportunity for new start. And some teachings also support A Course in Miracles being one of them, which is that every moment, every breath, right? And so it's like, yes, we celebrate a new year, right? We celebrate a new year. 2020, people are like, oh man, what a year, right? But then you can also say, like, every day is a brand new start. Every breath is a brand new start. And when you hold it with that type of grace, right, then that's where you can really let go. And that's where, my company's name is Surrendered Healing, is you're surrendering. You want to surrender the ego. Surrender the ego. And I hear you when you're talking about our gifts. And I always practice, and I invite my clients to practice, is we actually don't have to figure anything out. That's pretty awesome, right? We don't have to figure anything out. And people hear that from me, they're like, excuse me. I've had people actually yell at me like, what do you mean I don't have to figure things out? Yes, I do. And they got all upset about it. But we don't have to figure it out because it's already figured out for us. What we need to do is listen in, right? We need to
Go a little bit deeper with that. Explain that. How do we listen in deeper? I'm so curious about that.
Yeah. Well, so, first is being still. I think in this day and age, we have so many distractions, right? You have your phone, which is connected to your email, which is connected to Instagram, which is connected to Facebook, which is connected, there's just so many, you get all these notifications, right? And so really allowing yourself time every day, right? Dr. Wayne Dyer, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, would say that you can take a silent retreat every day. Take a silent retreat, even if it's for 5 minutes, even if it's for 1 minute. If it's an intentional silent retreat, that's where you can hear from your higher self. That's where you can hear from that still small voice, which, by the way, is always talking to us. That still small voice is always talking to us. And she knows, I'm gonna use a pronoun she knows exactly what we need to do next. And so we want to listen in, because sometimes what we're guided to do makes no sense to our ego, right? And so you want to be able to listen in, hear from your higher self, and just practice the silence. Practice the silence. Being still, practice being with your breath. And when people used to tell me that, I would kind of be like, I don't even know how to be. What do you mean by being my breath? But it's, I breathe in as I know I'm breathing in. This is from, I want to say this is from Thich Nhat Hanh. I breathe in as I know I'm breathing in. I breathe out as I know I'm breathing out. Right? So just really allowing that. So I could walk you through a quick exercise to hear from your higher self.
Yes, please.
Want to do that?
On. Okay. Yes.
All right. And this is for all of you watching as well, right? So what you want to do first is you want to think of a yes and no question where you know that the answer is yes. So a very simple question, simple to you, right? So for instance, a simple question is, I am Filipino, right? I know that the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have that question?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a few deep breaths. And now go ahead, and this is something I really want to stress, is that you want to actually ask the question aloud so that your body feels the question going through. So go ahead, Gabrielle, and ask that question aloud.
So are you a global warrior?
Am I a global warrior? Right, so go ahead and put it into first person. Am I a global warrior?
Am I a global warrior?
All right. And so where do you feel this yes?
I have a strong desire for travel. I just love to
Where in
explore.
your body do you feel the yes?
Oh, where in the body?
Mm-hmm.
I feel that actually in my chest,
Mm-hmm.
all
What
over
do you
my,
feel? Do you feel like a warmth or cold or tingling? What do you feel in your chest?
more of a tingling.
A tingling. Okay. Okay. Now you want to ask a very simple no. And you want um, this no just for the sake of the practice. And then we'll ask a question that you don't actually know the answer to. But you want the answer to be a very clear no. And so something very simple. So like, for me, it's am I a man? Right? It's a very clear no, not something that can be, because thing is you want your ego not to come into it. So go ahead and keep your eyes closed and ask a no question.
Do you want me to speak it out loud?
Yes.
Um, am I capable of speaking Japanese?
Okay. Am I capable of speaking Japanese? Great job with that question. It's a clear answer, right? So where is that no?
Actually, there's nothing that I'm feeling in my body.
Okay, so let's reframe the question. Go ahead and say, do I speak? Sometimes it could just be long-winded
Okay.
body to feel. So just say, do I speak Japanese?
Okay. Do I speak Japanese? So I felt that more in my abdomen, in my stomach region.
Okay, and what did you feel there?
I felt like some kind of warmth.
A warmth. Okay. Okay, so your no is a warmth in your abdomen, and your yes is a tingling in your chest. Okay. Now ask a question, and I mean, if it's okay with you to ask it aloud here, a question that you don't know the answer to, but that is a yes and no answer. So it could
Yes
be,
or no? I have a good one.
okay, go ahead.
Am I going to meet my soulmate?
Ooh, nice.
Oh, this is awesome because I can feel the yes in my chest again.
Yes. Love it. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. Yeah.
That was beautiful. I
Right.
love this technique.
Yeah, and I mean, what was that? Like it was 2 minutes or something like that, right? Of
That
just
was it.
asking in.
So whatever you want to know, ask, do this exercise to see where you feel things in your body. And you're actually, you're actually using your intuition, right? And you're getting out of your head because
Yes.
I notice when I get very excited, like right now, talking to you, right? Doing these interviews, listening to all these amazing things, I can literally feel the excitement all over my body, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
It's a
that's what you
visceral
have.
experience, right? Spirit, intuition talks to us and has been talking to us since the beginning of time. So that's why it's less of a cognitive experience than it is a visceral experience, because since the beginning of time, human beings have had a body, right? We haven't always used our frontal cortex. That's where the cognitive thinking is. We haven't always used that. That has been in much more recent times in the span of the human race. And so we want to get in connected to our body,
I
right?
love this. I totally love this because this is very helpful also during these times, asking ourselves, more deeply, what
Mm-hmm.
are we aligned with, right?
Yes, yes. And that's the practice is you want to start off with a yes and a no that you know for sure is a yes. And you know for sure is a no. And I would even say that the question you had, I know you, so I know that that's a pure yes. For someone who's just starting, I would have asked even a more simplified yes question, just because ego can get in the way. And again, we're trying to get out of our head and into our body. So we're just getting out of, so a very
Wow.
simple yes, simple no. And then you want to ask yes or no questions. And later, I'd been doing this practice for years before I started asking open-ended questions, right? You can get away with so much of yes and no questions, and really refining that skill can take you so far.
That is powerful. So I love that you're the first speaker I have in this series that's actually doing an exercise with me.
Oh, nice.
I love it. So I love to have something new every day. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So far what I heard you say, I always like to summarize a little bit. Listen in of all the signs of you resisting, right? And wanting to be stuck at a certain temperature. And then I also heard you say, right now is a really good time to figure out more about yourself by sitting in stillness and truly listening in. Mm-hmm. And then you just gave us a nice little exercise how we can even more deeply tap into these times of uncertainty, right? What is our body telling us about, how to go ahead and what some of the outcomes that we might not know about, right? So we can actually ask questions and get the answers from within. Yeah. And we can apply that to anything. We can apply that to pivoting. We can apply that to a new business venture, starting a business. So we can ask ourselves.
Micro details. I ask that question on text messages that I send.
Wow.
Do I send this text message? Do I write this word in an email? Right? Mm-hmm. I'm asking so that every step I take is an inspired step, an intuitive step, and then things flow so much more easily. Mm-hmm. Right? Even between me and you, when we first connected, I told you I was just sitting with doing more interviews and doing more podcasts, I was just sitting with that. And then you popped up out of the blue, right? And it's not out of the blue. It's out of divine, right? Everything is in divine timing. And so being able to ask every step of the way, and we don't even need to know the outcome. We don't even need to know. I know that you ask I love the question that you asked, right? Am I going to find my soulmate? Awesome, right? And we could ask for every step of the way, not really understanding the why, because the truth is that we can't, even if we wanted, we can't fathom the divine design. We cannot fathom all the different proponents, right? I couldn't have been like, I'm going to, connect here. I'm going to post about this. I'm going to write this email. And then Gabrielle's going to get this, her own intuition to do this online show. And at the same time, we're going to connect. Like, we couldn't have done that. That was both of us listening to our intuition and then coming together because we listened.
So these are some beautiful techniques right now that you're teaching us, right? So just give us one more thing, because we have a limited time here. So what's another big message that you want to get out for everybody during these times?
Another big message or another exercise? Maybe not
an exercise, but how else I might want to open up to, not to break through the resistance, right? Because obviously right now is a time to pivot, to be open to change, because the world, like I said, the world's not going to look the same. So how there's a lot of resistance out there, and there is also a lot of denial out there.
Yeah.
So
I'm going between two practices left, but I'm going to pick one.
Okay, pick one. Yes, please.
One practice that I think now more than ever is important is the practice of tithing. And so tithing, has its roots in the spiritual world, right? Which is to donate 10% of everything that comes your way. And it might sound kind of crazy to be like, why would I donate right now when I don't know how I'm going to put food on the table, when I just lost my job, when my business is, going bankrupt. I get it. I hear you. And because I hear you now, even more than pre-COVID, is a time to tithe. And the reason is that when you donate 10% of everything that comes your way, you get in alignment with how the universe works,
Wow.
right? Not how the world works. You get in alignment with how the universe works. And how the universe works is that when you inhale, you have to exhale. So when you receive, you're going to give. The truth is that the universe is going to take that 10% anyway. But when you align yourself with it and you do it intentionally, then the 90% that you keep grows. Yeah, it's amazing. The 90% that you keep grows when you consistently give 10%.
Wow, you just reminded me of something that just happened to me. I just want to mention really quick. And it was like I had a construction project in my house, right? So I had a leak, one of those famous bathroom leaks. And so I was looking at quite a bit of cost to get my bathroom fixed, right? And so I wasn't really sure if I would get reimbursed by my insurance. So it didn't look like that. So, and then I found out unexpectedly in the mail, I got a $5,000 check, right? And so that was my insurance actually giving me money to fix that leak in my bathroom. And then the same day, I was approached to make a donation to an African organization that was feeding families. And, I actually gave $500 that day.
Oh my God.
And I didn't even know. And you just mentioned 10%. So I kind of did it the other way around. But for some reason, I thought, okay, you just got $5,000. So now let's give $500 to feeding some families, right? So,
but I love that you intuitively knew. And that's again, coming back to, we intuitively know. So even without even thinking, 10%, you knew that the 500 was exactly what you needed to give. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the practice. That's the practice. I had a client who came to me. She didn't want to change jobs. She wanted to get paid more to do the same job. Let me put it simply. She wanted to get paid more to do the same job. So we're like, okay. I was like, okay, so what if you ask for a promotion and get a plan? Like, what does that look like to have a promotion? And she's like, I don't want a promotion because I work with the people. And if I get promoted, then I'm no longer serving, the hands-on community that I want to serve. And I was like, okay. So then what if you apply to another company that does similar work but pays better? And she's like, oh, but I'm from this community. I really want to stay here. And I was like, okay. And I'm kind of sweating now. I'm like, okay, God, how am I supposed to help this woman, right? And she's like, okay, well, I was like, okay, well, what if you go to your supervisor and ask for a raise? We can talk about negotiation skills. And she's like, and this is over a span. I'm rushing this story, but it's over a span of a few weeks here, right? And she's like, you know what? And we're doing exercises for her to tune in, check in, what is feeling in alignment. And again, she's like, that's not in alignment. And I was like, okay. And I'm in prayer, like, okay, universe, how am I supposed to serve this woman when you keep giving her no's on every suggestion I give? But I have to trust that she's her highest authority and I'm supporting her and listening in, right? So then we do what comes up for her is to do some other practices around forgiveness. So she does forgiveness practices, right? She starts tithing. Okay. So all we're layering these different practices, and forgiveness, we didn't talk about that, but that helps clear the way so you can receive. So she's clearing the way, then she's tithing to get in alignment. And 7 weeks in, Gabrielle, 7 weeks in, she's like, Adelina, you're not going to believe what happened. And I'm like, why? What happened? She's like, my boss, who, by the way, she did not talk to about it. She said, my boss pulled me aside and he told me that they're not paying me enough. What? Yeah. And he said, because she was on salary, and he said, I want you to look back at your last year and a half since you've been on salary. And I want you to tell us every hour that you worked overtime, and we are going to back pay you overtime money for those hours when she was on salary, right? So then she got this, it was amazing. And she got this, beautiful fat check, right? And her vision was to travel. And so she utilized that check to travel. She volunteered. She worked, in refugee camps in other countries and traveled with that check, right? And so I share that because when you were saying you got this check in the mail and then you tithe, right? She's like, okay, I want more money and you want me to tithe. But out of the blue, and I'm quoting out of the blue because the out of the blue means out of divine, her supervisor sat her down and gave her what she wanted and even more, right?
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that sounds to me like this beautiful flow of giving and receiving.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you give it a specific number, right? A specific percentage, tithing. So you give away 10% and you get into this practice, right?
Yeah.
And what came up for me right now also, when we go to restaurants, like tipping, treat the server well. And there, of course, personally, I like to do at least 20%, but there's interesting stuff that happens, right, when you are giving. And you are giving without wanting to get.
Right.
So
when you just give to the universe, and then you give to the blue, basically. You give to the blue, and then you receive out of the blue, right?
Right.
And I do want to say, the last thing I want to say around tithing is, it is specific around 10%. And we don't know exactly why at a 10% level, the 90% grows. But it's kind of like at 220 degrees, water turns into steam. We don't know why, but we just know that at that temperature, that's when it shifts. So we just know at a 10% level, that's when it shifts. So what I tell people, because different teachers will say different things. So some people say like, started at 3% giving, started at 5%. I tell people, if you really want to see results, start at 10% level. Otherwise, the 3% level, the 97% is not going to grow. So you're going to start feeling drained. So start at a 10% level. And what's happening is you become more grateful for everything that you've been given, because you're keeping track of everything that's coming your way, whether it's your salary or your gifts that you're receiving, someone buys you coffee, you're tithing off of all of that, and you become more grateful.
So I would think at a 10% level, there's more of a breakthrough available also, and that kind of puts you more into an abundant mindset.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's beautiful. Now, thank you for that. So I have one last question for you that, I ask all of my speakers. And of course, I want to know so much more, but we're going to find out how we can find out more from you in a minute. So what would the 80-year-old Adelina tell her present self? What kind of message would she give herself?
She would say, chill out. 2020, yes, while you're there, it seems really scary and there's so many unknowns. I'm human too, so I had those moments. And she would just remind me, you're going to get past that moment, and actually it's going to be a catalyst for you. Just wait. 2020 is your year.
See, that's interesting. I hear so many of my speakers say that, 2020 is the year. So this is very powerful. So chill out, Adelina. This is your
relax. Year. It's going to be all good. This is your year. This is your year to shine, right? And I say that to me, but also I do believe that.
Yes, and that's such a powerful message. I so feel it. Again, now I feel it all over my body. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for teaching. Thank you for teaching us these methods. And I know you had another exercise plan, and we are out of time. And we know, however, where to find you and where to get more exercises. So please share with us where people can find you. And also, I heard you say you have a free gift for our audience.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, people, you all can connect with me. I'm on Instagram, Surrendered Healing. Also, my website is surrenderedhealing.com. And my free gift, which I'm really excited about being able to share is I collaborated with other women of color, and we created a COVID-19 meditation package. And so that's for everybody. There's a meditation there for grocery shopping. There's a meditation, because we were talking about being still, right? So being still and connecting right before you go grocery shopping so you can feel safe and less anxious and at peace, right? There's a meditation if you're grieving somebody. There's a meditation if you're feeling sick and you want to, really move the COVID out of your body or the sickness out of your body. There's several different types of meditations there, and it's free. So definitely sign up, and you'll get an email, and you'll have access to all of them right away.
Thank you so much, Adelina. So powerful. So
Thank you.
yes, the world needs healing. The world needs you. Thank you for being in the show. And, thank you for joining us here. And I can't wait to find out more about, your healing exercises. And I'm definitely going to download those meditations. Thank you very much.